Hi, my friends. I'm Troy Torres. It is 4:49 p.m. on Monday, March 24. Is it March 24, 2025? It's Monday, and I don't know the date. I'm actually very excited. I'm here at, hi, Kana. I'm here at AutoSpot. I have a lot to say that has to do with corruption and Josh Tenorio and all that, but I'm waiting for a couple of messages to come in to make sure that the stream is going okay. I'm in a Guam AutoSpot, and they're one of our advertisers, and so I decided, since I'm here, I'll just do this live show from here, since it's going to take quite a while for me to get over to Jigo, get behind my desk and do this live show from there. And I didn't want to keep you guys waiting, but let me tell you why I'm here, though. Remember how like a few days ago my Jeep was vandalized? Well, I came to AutoSpot, I did a trade-in, and I got a new car today, thanks to Johnny Rosario, and thank you so much, Derek Kanata. Thank you, Kana, thank you, Amparo. It's right behind me. Anyway, all right, so I got messages in that the stream is going good. So I'll start. A couple of days ago, I think it was Friday, if I'm not mistaken, Friday night, we dropped the interviews, all caps, the interviews. And the interviews were an expose, a starting point of coverage that we're going to give to you, coverage that we're going to provide to you that goes deep into allegations of hundreds of counts of federal and local crimes alleged against members of the Leon Guerrero Tenorio administration, more specifically connected to Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenorio. And the interviews involved the audio recordings with modulation of voices to protect the identities of the witness victims, interviews with two people, Tyler and Pat. We gave them fictitious names. They agreed to speak with us on the record, but on the condition that their identities are guarded because they fear retribution. They fear for their physical safety, as a matter of fact. Retribution by Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenorio and his goons within the administration. And so we agreed to that. We agreed to give them fictitious names. We agreed to not identify them. We agreed to modulate their voices if they agreed to tell us their stories. And these are stories that they've been wanting to tell for quite some time now, along with several others who since September of last year, and I'm talking about multiple alleged witnesses and victims, since September of last year, coming to Kandit with their stories off the record about their experiences, what they witnessed, the crimes that they allege that they have witnessed committed by members of the Lieutenant Governor's family involving federal funds, local funds, and private funds through bank fraud. But this is the first time. The reason that these two people, Pat and Tyler, came forward was because they'd had enough. They saw our coverage and KUAM's coverage of the Frankie Rosalyn issue over at the Port Authority. There is a nexus between that story and this issue involving Frankie Rosalyn's girlfriend, Teresa Tenorio, who is Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenorio's sister, only sibling, as a matter of fact. And the allegations that Tyler and Pat made are chilling. They allege hundreds of counts of crimes committed by members of the Lieutenant Governor's family, including wire fraud, bank fraud, PUA fraud, emergency rental assistance fraud, bid rigging, money laundering, falsification of documents, forgery. It's a very long list of alleged federal and local crimes. We do know that this is a fact. We do know that an investigation into these things began sometime before the 2022 gubernatorial election. We do know that certain segments of the administration were aware of the investigation at the time. We do know that it was kept under wraps throughout the election. We do know that the investigation went silent right after the election. We do know that the investigation went back in full force on August 18, 2024, when the FBI raided businesses connected with the Lieutenant Governor, and then, with warrants, went to banks and extricated bank records related to people who are connected to the Lieutenant Governor, also related to the Lieutenant Governor's personal finances. We do know from that several alleged witnesses and victims spoke with the FBI following the August raids. We do understand from some of the witnesses and the victims that they have been harassed and intimidated by members of the alleged conspiracy to stop talking to the media and to the feds. And so Pat and Tyler, they came out on Friday, and there was an interview conducted around 8:30 p.m. all the way to about, I want to say 9:30 something on Thursday night, that we modulated and prepared for release and publication on Friday night. There was a comment by someone who is a member of the Democratic operation. I believe he is a GovBomb employee, if I'm not mistaken. He made a comment that formed the basis of this editorial that I've written and that I'm talking to you about now. He said, without any regard whatsoever for the fact that Pat and Tyler are alleged to be victims of this conspiracy, and witnesses who, with their two eyes, are able to tell us what happened because of what they witnessed. This person said, something along the lines of, how can you trust these witnesses? And what gets my gall about a comment like that is because this same person, just a few days before that, on an editorial that I had written that was critical of the Trump administration and of Republicans, was applauding it, was supporting it because it met his partisan political beliefs. But when it came to scrutiny and criticism of a Democratic lieutenant governor, he wouldn't believe it, calling into question our integrity at Kandit, our ability to vet sources, and the fact that these two people had the courage to come forward and to be recorded by us, to trust us that we would modulate their voices, to trust us that we would not reveal who they are because they fear retaliation from Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenorio and his minions and their goons. And you have this Democrat not giving them a single opportunity, not at all thinking about what it is that they're saying, the witness statements that they're making, the fact that this is a federal investigation. And it made me think, you know what? This is why half the country doesn't like us Democrats, and I'm a registered Democrat. And yeah, I've got my problems with the Trump administration. I've got my problems with Republicans. But I also know why Republicans and independents, more than half the country, doesn't trust Democrats. Is because we're hypocrites, because we're fast to talk about the corruption of Republicans. But when it comes to our own corruption within the Democratic Party, corruption coming from Democratic lawmakers, Democratic administration officials, we're nowhere to be found. We're not saying anything about Hunter Biden or Eric Adams, and we're not saying jack about Josh Tenorio. Where is the Democratic Party of Guam so fast to send out a reaction to the death of former Speaker Mark Forbes, to make themselves look good to the public that they care at all about the death of one of Guam's greatest statesmen, and at the same time not saying anything about intense allegations of corruption by Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenorio and his family, that if even 10% of what Pat and Tyler are saying is true, would lead this to become the single largest corruption conspiracy in the history of the government of Guam. And where is the Democratic Party to say anything about it? Where is the Democratic Party in defending these witnesses and these victims against the thuggery of Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenorio and his minions trying to intimidate and tamper with witnesses? Where is the Democratic Party's call for criminal justice, for equity? There's a lot that's being said about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I agree with diversity, equity, and inclusion, but that better damn well apply to everybody, both Democrat and Republican. It better not just be what's good for everybody else because we say so. Or it better not just be, one of those like, it doesn't apply to us because we're Democrats. This is why people don't like Democrats, is because we go around and we get on this moral pedestal, and then when it comes to us, we act like it doesn't apply to us. This is why people don't like us Democrats, is because we are hypocrites. And in this conversation, in this investigation about the Lieutenant Governor and his family, it's really showing. Where is the Democratic Party of Guam in saying anything about this? Where are Guam's Democrat elected officials in saying anything about this? Adelup is run by Democrats. At the very least, the Republicans, professional as they are, now you got to give it to the Republicans, they've acted pretty professional about this whole thing. They're not using this opportunity. They're not using this as an opportunity to score political points, at least in such a brash sort of way. In the interviews that have been conducted with Speaker Frank Blas and Senator Jesse Lujan, both Republicans, and Jesse Lujan is the chair of the Oversight Committee of the Port, they did not take the opportunity to bash people, but they did say, we want to get the truth. We want to get to the bottom of this because wrong is wrong. Where are the Democrats in saying that? Where are the Democrats in saying, we want to get to the bottom of this? We want to ensure that anybody who is a victim or a witness in this conspiracy are protected. Where are they in saying, wrong is wrong and right is right, and we're always going to stick up for what is right? Because you can't just stick up for what is right when it fits your political agenda, when it fits your wanting to bash Trump and the Republicans. It's got to fit for everyone. It's got to fit to Democrats as well. This is why, my dear friends, people don't like Democrats anymore. It's because we're hypocrites. Because we think that everything should apply to everybody else but us. And when the stench is coming from us, we act like there's nothing wrong. And it's disgusting. Democrats, do better. For Kandit News, I'm Troy Torres. Good night.